Welcome to the Writer's Journey podcast. I'm Michael Laran, a science fiction and fantasy author on a journey to go from nobody to bestseller, and I'm documenting every step of the way. Tune in every week as I pull back the curtain on my writing life and how I'm building a writing career while working a full-time job, raising a family, and attending law school classes in the evenings. You can find show notes for this week's episode, a free starter library of my fiction, and much more at michaellaran.com. Hello and welcome to episode 86. So wow, just getting up there, getting closer to 100. 100 is a good number. 86 is a good number too. So this week I wanted to give a quick update. But first, it is Halloween. Boo, it's kind of scary. So yesterday, believe it or not, there was actually snow on the ground for Halloween here in Des Moines, where I live, Des Moines, Iowa. And this is the first time I think ever that there's been snow on the ground while kids are trick-or-treating. It's like, man, if it was a kid, it was like the worst Halloween ever. Although my daughter had a good Halloween. My wife took her up the block and went to a couple of houses of people that we knew. And so she had a good Halloween. She's at the age where she doesn't really care about the amount of candy she gets. She just cares about putting on the costume and going up and down the street. So that was kind of cool. I sat on my porch with a wizard hat on and a winter coat, and one kid asked me, "What are you supposed to be?" And I told him, "Well, I'm the Black Gandalf." And the kid was like, "What is a Black Gandalf?" And I said, "If you have to ask, you'll never know." I think the kid was like 7 or 8 years old. Still has not been exposed to Lord of the Rings, which is a shame. Anyway, I was on the porch giving out candy, and a kid had a great joke. Okay, he had a really, really good joke. The joke was, why was the baseball stadium so hot? Why was the baseball stadium so hot? Because the fans left. Get it? That was an exceptionally good one. All the other ones I heard were, one kid was dressed like Mike Myers or whoever the guy is from Halloween series, and he came up to the door and said, "Hey, do you have any organs to donate?" And I said, "Not this time." And he's like, "Okay, I'll try again next Halloween." True story. So Halloween, it's in bloom. I hope that you have a good time trick-or-treating. And if you decide to go trick-or-treating, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably too old to be trick-or-treating, but there were at least two or three 20-somethings that came to my door yesterday. So if that's your thing, go for it. So this October has been phenomenal for me. Easily the best October, and I've said this before, but easily the best October I can think of in recent memory. And the reason it worked so well was because I think I did a pretty good job of planning. And I think, knock on wood, I think I'm going to set myself up for a pretty good November. So I've got some business travel next week. I'm teaching my next class in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So that'll be a good time. and after that, I think the month will be relatively non-eventful. I've got Thanksgiving, but we're not doing any travel plans or anything like that. So I think things are going to be good from a not too much turbulence, right? And book-wise, so I mentioned last week that I was working on the Ally book, and I'm doing a book for Ally, which is the topmost asked self-publishing questions. So I'm gathering up virtually every common question I can think of, and I am answering that in short form in the book. And so far, this has actually been one of the greatest starts I've ever had to a book. I wrote 10,000 words in 2 days, and now I think I'm around 20,000 words. So I had a break where I wasn't able to write too much because I had to work on my midterm. But for the most part, this has been just it's off to a phenomenal start. And honestly, by the weekend, I might even be pretty close to 50,000 words. I'm flying through this book. It's pretty awesome. It's progressing really fast. And I think what I've got so far is going to be pretty close to the final draft. Like I'm going to have to go back through, and there's some references and things that I make in the book that I'm going to have to make sure that are clean. But for the most part, this is pretty clean. So I'm excited to talk more about that in the future. In law school stuff, I mentioned that I finished my midterm. I was actually working on my midterm paper while I was sitting on the porch giving out candy to kids. I was on my phone. I was writing my midterm on Ulysses, handing out candy. True story. So we'll see how good that turns out. Write your law school midterm into the dark. I totally did that. So we'll see if that works. I don't know if it will or not. I'll report back when I get my grade, whether it's an A or whether it's an F, so that it may be a cautionary tale on this Halloween episode of The Writer's Journey. So I also want to talk about some new marketing opportunities that came my way in the last couple of weeks that have been pretty cool. One of them I created myself, and then the other one, it just kind of came to me, and I thought it was kind of cool. So I'm pleased to announce here in the next few weeks that Author Level Up will be part of not Author Level Up, but the Writing Tip of the Day, I should say. The Writing Tip of the Day podcast is going to join a unique flash briefing network. So there are podcast networks out there, right, where you listen to a podcast network and you hear any amount of shows. Well, the Writing Tip of the Day is an Amazon Echo show primarily, right? It's also available on podcast, but I created it primarily for Amazon Alexa devices. I didn't want to say the name because, I didn't want to set it off. I didn't want to set anyone else's off either, especially if you're sitting next to one. So I designed it for those devices to try to be a little bit future forward, and flash briefings are still kind of they're like a little kiddie pool. There's not a whole lot of people in them right now. And so I thought, well, Amazon is releasing these Echo Buds that are actually shipping. They started shipping yesterday, where it's got the assistant in the earbud, and it's always listening. So you can actually start to take these smart speakers on the go, which I saw that and I was like, okay, this is going to be a pretty big deal, I think, assuming the technology and the hardware is there. And so once people start getting more comfortable wearing assistants in their ear, I think they're going to start listening to flash briefings while they're on the go. Because right now, if you want to listen to a flash briefing, you have to be in a room that has an Amazon Echo, and then you have to ask it to play you the news. Or you have to have an Echo Auto. I mean, very few people have those, and apparently it's not a very good product. Or you have to use the smartphone app on your phone, which is not a very good experience. Now I think it's opened up an entire world of people who might be a market for flash briefings who didn't know that they were. And so, writing tip of the day, there's a guy named Terry Fisher. I think I've mentioned him on the podcast before. He's the one that I took his course and learned how to get a flash briefing up and running. And he has a flash briefing network. It's called Briefcast FM. And he gathers up some of the best briefcasts or the best Alexa flash briefings and puts them under his network so that it becomes a discoverability tool. It's very small right now. Whether or not it'll be like mega successful, I think it remains to be seen. But he is definitely a leader and an influencer in this space. And so I reached out to him and asked if he'd be interested in having Writing Tip of the Day as a Briefcast FM, because there are no other writing casts there, and he was interested. So we're in talks to kind of get that done, but expect to hear a little bit more about that as the year goes on. And I think it'll start sometime in January. So yeah, that should be kind of cool. It'll be a new marketing tool, and that's kind of goes to what I was talking about with my strategy, right? How do I get a little bit better at the marketing? How do I be a little bit more proactive instead of just letting opportunities come to me? And so I think that's a good first step in that. And then the second opportunity is I had the opportunity to go out to California to teach my next class, which is kind of cool. It just kind of randomly popped up in my inbox. I think I have the opportunity to go to, I think it's like Stockton, California, or San Jose. So it's like all Northern California, which is pretty cool. But I was looking at flights and stuff, and I was like, man, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get to California, like from Iowa at least. Like, so I live in Des Moines, Iowa, and I love Des Moines, Iowa. It's a great place to live, mainly because of the cost of living. We have everything that most big cities have, just on a smaller scale, and you can get pretty much anywhere you want to go in Des Moines, door to door, in like 20 minutes. I live not that. I mean, and the interstate systems are fairly good, so there's really no downsides to living in Des Moines, other than that it's almost impossible to fly out of this city. Like, if I want to get on a plane and go somewhere, I have to go to either Chicago or Omaha or Omaha, Nebraska, or Minneapolis. And I have to fly there first, and then I have to fly from wherever I fly to get to where I'm going. And it just makes flights unreasonably expensive. I was looking at flights to get to San Jose, and I would have to go from Des Moines to Minneapolis, which is like an hour, and then from Minneapolis to Los Angeles, which is like 4 hours, and then from Los Angeles to San Jose, and then I'd have to rent a car and drive however long I got to drive to get to where I need to go. It's just, you just would not believe how many twists and turns you have to make on an airplane to get from Des Moines to go to anywhere. So I might be going to California to teach this class. I might not. I have to decide within the next 24 hours, and so I don't know. I really do love California. I would like to get out there again, but again, I might write my congressperson because it's a terrible experience flying in and out of Des Moines. So yeah, that's another opportunity that came my way, and it's not so much a writing opportunity, but it's more of like a self-marketing opportunity. And that came to me because of groundwork that I've laid by teaching these classes and putting myself out there as a good speaker and as somebody that would be good to work with. And so, it's just a self-marketing tip, right? Things that you do today might open up opportunities for you in the future, whether you're a writer, whether you're not a writer. And so I thought that was kind of cool. You don't get those invitations all the time, so I thought I would share that. And so the last thing I wanted to talk about today was just, again, some thoughts on October and then what the rest of the year is going to look like for me. So what I do plan on doing in November is finishing up this Ally book. That is the next thing I need to do. I'm going to be doing some more content on Author Level Up. The next season of Author Level Up will be how to write better. So like writing craft, like how to study the writing craft, which I think will be better. My most recent season of Author Level Up that is actually concluding tomorrow is finding organization, right? So how do you get organized as a writer? How do you organize every area of your writing life? And I'm not sure if it was a YouTube thing or if people around the world are just not interested in it, or it can be completely my fault too. But this season hasn't really been that popular. There's been a few videos that have been popular, but generally speaking, this is not a sexy topic. How do you get organized as a writer? People don't get out of bed and ask those types of questions, right? But people do get out of bed and ask, how do I improve my writing craft, or how do I write better stories, right? So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. And I'm thinking about tapering off my seasons to about 4 to 6 weeks now. So I think this season, it was like maybe 8 to 10 weeks. And I'm finding that was maybe just a little too long. I'm finding that the interest started dipping about 2 weeks ago. So, lessons learned, right? Analytics, you look at your analytics and you figure out with YouTube, what are people watching? Why are they watching it? For how long are they watching it, right? What are they clicking on? What are they watching after it? YouTube gives you all these analytics, and it's just helpful information for me as I move forward. So that's pretty much it for me. I will admit that the midterm just sucked all the oxygen out of my week. And I waited till the last minute to do it too, because I was working on this book so much that I didn't want to lose my momentum. And so I waited till the last day to do the midterm, which I think I ended up where I needed to be, but wish I had more interesting news for you this week. Anyway, I hope that you have a great Halloween. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend and enjoy this last day of October, and November will be here before you know it. So with that, take care, and I'll talk to you next week. Thanks for joining me this week. If you enjoyed this episode, you'll enjoy my backlist episodes at michaelaran.com/podcast. For your free starter library of my favorite novels, join my fan club by visiting michaelaran.com/fanclub. If you're a writer and want to connect with me further, check out my YouTube channel, Author Level Up, for helpful writing advice at authorlevelup.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.